If you use an Apple product, you need to watch this video to the very end. Well, the situation with Apple versus the UK government has just got significantly more interesting. To get you up to speed, the UK government was requesting access and to essentially have a backdoor into Apple's systems to see what people were storing on their iCloud. And this would also come with the ability for the UK government to get access to our iMessages, photos, and pretty much everything else. Now, over the past few weeks, the situation has evolved and it keeps going on. Now, the other day we heard about 4chan taking the British government to court, but this time round the documents in relation to Apple versus the government have been leaked. Now, they were leaked and then 3 hours later they were officially released, and we believe the reason for this, well, you'll learn all about that. Court documents shed new light on UK Apple row over user data. The UK government may have wanted to force Apple to provide it with access to more customer data than previously thought, a court document has indicated. A row erupted between the two after it emerged the Home Office asked the tech giant for the right to access highly encrypted user data stored via a service called Advanced Data Protection. Now, a court document suggests the requests made under legislation called the Investigatory Powers Act could also have enabled the government to seek access to a wider range of Apple customer data. It also suggests that the government may still be seeking access to data of non-UK users, despite US officials saying last week that it had dropped the demand. So essentially, the government lied. They'd never do that, would they? Right, now the next bit is really important, and I think it's the thing that blows the lid off this whole thing. But very quickly, I have a question. Can you show me all of your emails? Hopefully the answer's no, and no one else should be able to see them either. Well, that's a core philosophy behind today's video sponsor, Proton Mail. Now, Proton was founded by a few scientists that got together and realized that privacy should be the default. And with that, they introduced a service called Proton Mail, which enables end-to-end encryption on your emails to basically hide those emails from prying eyes or anyone that shouldn't really have access to them. And included with Proton Mail, they have a premium set of tools such as their Phish Guard, which warns you about whether an email may be a phishing attempt. And on top of that, there's no adverts, no tracking, and no access to any third parties. Now, one of your reasons for not moving over may be things such as cost, or for example, moving over all of your existing emails. While moving over all your emails from your existing mail provider to Proton Mail is very easy with their migration tool, you can also set up email forwarding so people that are contacting your old email, it would just get forwarded to your Proton Mail address. And the best part about all of this is it's completely free to sign up and start using it today using my link down below. A massive thank you to Proton Mail for sponsoring this video. Quietly stoked, been using Proton Mail for years. Very happy about this. But yeah, check them out down below. Go and show them some love. New sponsor, you know what to do. Now, let's crack on with the video. Right, so the next bit that we're going to get into is absolutely insane. And I had to speak to many different people to confirm how this works because I didn't understand it at first. So you will have to bear with me. Now, when it comes to a big corporation like Apple, obviously they are a private business, but they of course have a massive national interest for every country that Apple's in. Now, when they go to court with a government, especially a government like the UK or the US, for example, the court system, especially in the UK, and in fact most countries in Europe, there is something called a disclosure of public interest. So essentially, not all of the court documents will be released publicly because some of it isn't relevant and some of it's not for the benefit of public interest. And the benefit of public interest only really applies when it's like a product or service that pretty much everyone uses, which in the case of Apple is pretty relevant. Now, each of these cases are marked whether it's for public interest, and the UK government have decided that this particular lawsuit about our private information and how our data is shared with the government was to be marked as not for public interest. The government deems that we don't need to know about this. The government deems that we shouldn't have any right to our privacy. The government don't believe that we have any right to know about these legal cases. Now, just to add to this as well, everything we're reading here from this BBC article about the situation is based on the information we actually have. There are thousands and thousands of documents that we don't, and some of them aren't just requests from the government, they're also requests from securities agencies, like the security agencies within the British government. So there's so much information here that we actually don't have access to, and it's very possible that Apple's been requesting this information for all sorts of intelligence purposes. And now this leads me on to the next bit of this article. It is believed the UK government would only want access to this data if there was a risk to national security. In February, it emerged the government had demanded to be able to access encrypted data stored by Apple users worldwide in its cloud service. It applied to all content stored using ADP service. Now, to be clear, the encryption really depends from company to company how it's done and whether it's actually encrypted. But in the case of WhatsApp and Apple, let's just go benefit of the doubt just for the sake of this explanation. But when you send a message, it's encrypted and the decryption key is basically held by the other person. So neither Apple nor WhatsApp, for example, can actually access the content of those messages, supposedly. But relatively speaking, from a legal standpoint, Apple and WhatsApp and other companies alike have plausible deniability. They can go back to the government and say, well, we can't give you the access to this encrypted data because we don't have access to the encrypted data. But what the government then decided to do is, because obviously they couldn't get the encrypted data because it is encrypted, they decided to go the other route. They decided to ask Apple and WhatsApp whether they can have back doors into their systems, i.e. a security analyst in an office somewhere in London can log into the back end of Apple servers and WhatsApp servers and access all of the content and also inject their own code within it. Now, obviously, Apple and WhatsApp laughed and went, absolutely not. And that's where this legal court case has stemmed from. The UK government is trying to fight against Apple to ensure they can get hold of this data, and they're saying it's in the interest of national security. Now, I don't need to go into the deep dive about Edward Snowden, but we know the amount of times in the past that governments have used the threat of national security as a way to access people's data, information, and more to the point, it's being used for surveillance. The UK government is no better than an early 2000s American government, and this is extremely worrying. It's also worth noting that within the filing, it states that the obligations included in the TCN are not limited to the UK or users of the service in the UK. They apply globally in respect of all the relevant data categories of all iCloud users. This is where online regulation and online safety laws become really complicated because the internet is everywhere. The internet isn't one country. The internet is accessible through all different means. Even in the case of like VPNs, you can access everything from everywhere. So laws on the internet, like you've got every country in the world and then you've got internet, which is all of those countries. Now here's the bit that I said at the start of the video, why you needed to watch to the end of the video. So Apple has actually pulled their encryption services from the UK market until this whole court case and legal situation has been resolved. At the moment, they can't have their encrypted service in the UK because the UK government is making it very difficult to actually encrypt people's data. So you may notice that if you opted in for the iCloud encryption, well, that would have been removed from your account earlier this year. And at the moment, we do believe it's going to come back, but at the current rate the UK government's going, it's probably not going to come back. Now, I'll be honest, 99.9% of you are going to be absolutely fine. But if you do have a concern about the government accessing your data, which to be honest, you should do, firstly, you should switch over your mail to things like Proton, but also secondly, use an alternative cloud storage rather than iCloud. Don't be storing your stuff on iCloud in the UK at the moment. I'm sure if it's just a picture of your cat, whatever, but legally speaking, the UK government could access that. At the moment, the UK government can actually access your iCloud in the UK because it's not encrypted, and actually Apple has submitted to many different government requests over the past few years. So I just thought I'd let you guys know. Sorry that I'm not on camera for this bit, but you need to know if you're an iPhone user. Now, obviously, this is going to keep coming up. We're still going to be receiving information about this over the next couple of weeks, and I will be covering it. But I'm so interested to see what other documents come to light from this. Very interested. This is absolutely abhorrent. Make sure you go and check out Proton Mail at the link down below. And if you did enjoy this video, please make sure to subscribe, and I shall see you all in the next one.